Welcome to Calm Desk. There are moments in life when someone's words don't just confuse you, they quietly rearrange your reality. Not loudly, not dramatically, just subtly. Soft enough that you start doubting your own memory, your own instincts, your own feelings. Today, I want to talk about that quiet erosion. Not in a sensational way, not in a way that scares you, but in a way that brings clarity, peace, and grounding. Because gaslighting doesn't always sound like shouting. Sometimes it sounds like a whisper that makes you question yourself. This video is not about blaming or labeling people, it's about recognizing the patterns, reclaiming your voice, and understanding your own inner truth again. Let's take this slow. Gaslighting is often explained as making someone doubt their reality. But that definition is incomplete. It does not capture the emotional texture of the experience. So let me tell you what it actually feels like. It feels like walking into a familiar room and suddenly being told the furniture was never there. It feels like remembering something clearly, yet someone insists you imagined it. It feels like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're too sensitive. You always overreact. You're remembering it wrong. Not screamed, just stated calmly, confidently, as if they are the stable one and your mind is the messy one. Gaslighting feels like losing your internal compass, like you're slowly drifting away from your own inner voice until you start relying on their version of events because yours doesn't feel trustworthy anymore. And the deepest part, you don't even realize it's happening when you're in it. You just feel tired, confused, unsteady. This is what gaslighting feels like from the inside. Here are the actual phrases that often indicate manipulation. Phrases people experience but rarely recognize. You're imagining things. This sentence plants the seed that your perception is unreliable. I never said that, even when you remember the words clearly. Why would I lie about this? It shifts the focus to your supposed mistrust, not their behavior. You always twist things. Suddenly, you are the problem, not the event. Stop being dramatic. Your emotional response becomes the issue, not their action. Everyone knows how emotional you are. A subtle character assassination disguised as concern. If you really cared about me, you wouldn't bring this up. Manipulation wrapped in guilt. These sentences may sound small, but they remove your anchor to reality. Not all of them mean someone is a gaslighter, but these patterns, when repeated, create a cycle of self doubt. And once self doubt enters your emotional bloodstream, everything gets filtered through it. One of the saddest myths is that only weak people get manipulated. That's not true. People who are empathetic, forgiving, introspective, patient, emotionally generous, peace seeking are actually the easiest to gaslight because you just always assume you might be overthinking. You give the benefit of the doubt. You want to understand the other person's perspective. You question yourself before you question them. Your strength becomes the doorway they walk through. Gaslighting works not because you're weak, but because you're considerate. And considerate people often struggle to believe someone would intentionally confuse them. Let's put this into words that many people silently think. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I should have said it better. Maybe they're right. They usually are. Maybe it's me. I am the common denominator. I don't trust myself anymore. If even one of these sentences feels familiar, you might have been carrying someone else's narrative as if it were your own. Gaslighting creates two versions of you, one who remembers the event and another who's forced to reinterpret it. And living between these two versions is exhausting, emotionally draining. Most people don't just wake up from gaslighting in a dramatic moment. It often happens quietly. You might notice you are nervous before speaking, you rehearse conversations in your head, you apologize even when unsure what for. You feel misunderstood constantly. You walk on emotional eggshells. You feel smaller around them, not larger. And then one day, something tiny snaps. A sentence, a look, a sigh, something so small, yet it finally makes sense. You realize the confusion wasn't yours, it was theirs, projected onto you over and over again. That moment is painful, but it's also the beginning of freedom. This part is not about confrontation, not about revenge, not about dramatic exits. It's about grounding yourself again. Here are gentle but powerful practices. Trust your first reaction, not the edited version, not the self corrected version. Your first emotional instinct is usually the most honest. Write things down, not for proof, for clarity. Gaslighting thrives in confusion. Clarity breaks that cycle. Talk to one safe person, someone who listens without exaggerating or minimizing. Sometimes one grounded voice can realign your entire sense of self. Say this sentence silently to yourself: my feelings are valid even if someone else cannot understand them. Don't try to win the argument. Gaslighting is not a debate you can win, it's a pattern you can step out of. Take a breath. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not dramatic. You are not imagining things. You were simply trying to understand someone else who never intended to understand you back. But now you're here and you're reclaiming your inner voice, one quiet truth at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for choosing clarity over confusion. If you ever feel lost, come back to this space. You are not alone.